Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Belle again. So today, we're going to talk about the GOP opening to cutting Medicare. You heard that right. Medicare, not Medicaid. The Republican Party is trying to frame the potential cuts as going after waste. So expect to hear that term over and over again. But also remember all the things they called waste during the DOGE cuts that turned out to be things like security for nuclear weapons. Okay, so what's going on? They still can't figure out how to pay for their tax cuts. The CBO report on the deficit increase has them shook. And they're worried about Trump crashing the economy, reducing the GDP, and therefore tax revenue. So, do they look at reducing tax breaks for the rich? Nope. They look at Medicare. Senate Majority Leader John Thune said, quote, "The focus, as you know, has been on addressing waste, fraud, abuse within Medicaid. But right now, we're open to suggestions that people have them about other areas where there is, clearly waste, fraud, and abuse that can be rooted out in any government program." Let's be clear. There has been nothing new popping up on the Medicare fraud, waste, and abuse front to bring this about. They need to make cuts, so they're looking at Medicare. Not because they've identified some way to cut down on waste, but because Medicare has a big pot of money they can pull funds from to balance the tax cuts. They'll probably get a figure on improper payments, which isn't necessarily fraud, waste, or abuse, or some other such number they can frame as the waste they're targeting. Then they'll use that as the dollar amount they want to cut. But there will be no movement to address the improper payments or whatever they use as the shiny keys to dangle for their base. Whatever problem within Medicare they latch onto will still exist, but Medicare, and therefore the beneficiaries, will lose out. As they roll out the promises about how it will only affect fraud, waste, and abuse, remember that they promised $2 trillion in fraud, waste, and abuse cuts through DOGE. Then they couldn't even find a tenth of that. The difference is, when they make the budget cuts here, the money is gone. When they later can't find their estimated waste, Medicare is just out the funding. It's not just a political embarrassment, it's people losing health care. This is yet another example of Trump walking back on his promises. Remember, Trump said, quote, "We're not cutting Medicaid, we're not cutting Medicare, and we're not cutting Social Security." There are already cuts to Medicaid. Medicare is now on the chopping block. Anyway, it's just a thought. Y'all have a good day.